3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? It is I, Ash of On Comics, and this is a double with cheese. Well, double doubles have cheese by nature. That's the double part. With onions, extra spread, add pickles, and then ketchup on top of the spread. That is the Ash style burger. If you want to try one yourself, I highly recommend it. Yeah, so I went to the comic book store today, and I'm on my way home, and I decided to do what I love to do and get myself a nice juicy burger. Stare at it, mouth watering. I know some of you you've missed videos. I've heard people, where's the burger videos? Where's the comic videos? There's a lot going on. Maybe I'll get into that when I get in the second half. I'll show you some comics I picked up, and we'll talk about things maybe. But I'm going to eat this burger right now. I just thought while I was sitting down in my car. I got a new car, by the way. It's also a Mini. And yeah, I'm going to eat this burger. I'll talk to you in a bit. See, that didn't take too long. I didn't want to get babbling in the car. I knew I'd go into the weeds, so I figured, plus I wanted to eat. So I figured I'd just wait till I got home. That way I could show off some comics and just whatever, talk about whatever comes to mind. I don't really have a big plan of what to do. So let's get some comics so you have something to look at and something to talk about. I picked up, there's a couple weeks worth of comics here because my pull is really small. So the first book is Blade Runner Origins number 12. I will admit I've fallen off the wagon on this, and Blade Runner 2019 was outstanding. Still credit to Thinking Critical Wes over there. He's the reason I started collecting that book, and it was outstanding. Then I continued on because they had earned my trust and my business. They earned my business because they'd made a quality product. Blade Runner 2029 is not quite as good. And Origins, I don't know, they actually could turn out to be outstanding. I think I only got through like issue 5, and then I just kind of fell off. It wasn't really interesting me. I am going to go back, and I definitely, intended to read it. Obviously, I'm continuing to buy it. So hopefully it really picks up and finishes strong. But I don't have much else to say. At the moment, I'm kind of glad that it's over. Because like I said, I'm going to pick it up. And anyways, I'm already in the weeds. If you had 3 minutes and 12 seconds, I don't know how long it's been. Next book, Undiscovered Country. This is a special one-shot issue. Not gonna lie, I hate this. No, I like the comic. I hate when they do this. Why not just have this be issue what have you, like whatever the next issue is. I don't even know what issue number they're on. They're like in the 20s, I think. Why are you doing a special? Like, don't do this. He did this with Blacktop Bill for his other series, Nocterra. I just make it a numbered issue. Anyways, Undiscovered Country. This is a comic that no one's talking about. Really cool, really creative. I think Scott Snyder's doing some of the coolest stuff in comics, and DC was pretty stupid to lose him, in my opinion. Next, oh boy, it's the final issue of Oblivion Song, and maybe I'll do a video talking about this whole thing. I don't know. I don't really have much to say about it. I haven't read this, so kind of sad. This is one of my favorite comics to collect. At least I still have firepower, knock on wood. Yeah, maybe I'll do a video on that. And next is a book that Zach, you guys may know, does videos with the Geeky Puppet Show. So if you've been around my channel, you might know who Zach is, or around my Discord. He recommended this book, said it was really good, and my pull list is kind of small, so he was excited for it, and other people seem to back up his claim. Kaiju Score. Steel of the Gods. Now, I have to admit, when I got this, I didn't know this was actually the second series, or it's a spin-off series. So I'm a little less interested now, although that really is, that's just no real knowledge here. This could actually be better. I haven't read the first one, but I just, have that weird thing like the spin-offs never as good as the original, whatever. So, Zach, you said this was good. I'm going to trust you. You're not always right. You're not always right, but we'll see. I'm going to have faith. I'm going to have faith in Zach, and we'll see. The next is another book that was recommended to me, but this time by Skip and Tosh, and it's called Ghost Cage. Now, I think Skip had talked to me about this book many months ago, and I had just kind of had forgotten. It kind of fell off my radar. I don't remember the name, but I do remember him telling me that Nick Dragotta, the artist, was going to be doing a new book, and I was like, ooh, and then I never heard about it again. So this actually came out in the comic store, never saw it, and then I was on a stream, Skip happened to be on, we talked about it, and I was like, what? So I was very excited. I went down to my comic book store, and guess what? They had issue 1 and issue 2. So Skip, I have to say, sorry, Zach, Skip is a person whose tastes, when he recommends comics, has a better batting average for me personally. And Skip is one of the ones that really is the reason I got to fall in love with East of West. We did a whole series actually on that, which is one of the best comic book series I've ever read. I was a little skeptical when people said that was like Hickman's greatest work, and Jonathan Hickman that is, and I was like, yeah, whatever. The covers on East of West are like the most boring comic covers I've ever seen. Does not do that comic justice. Phenomenal. And in that book, I didn't start off as a Nick Dragotta fan, but by the time we got through, was it 50? I want to say that's like 54 issues. I can't remember exactly. I think 54 issues. I became a big fan of his work. He's very manga inspired, a lot of his style, but it's not like he's trying to copy manga exactly. He's got this really nice mix of Western styles with manga, and he kind of brings it together to be his own. Very excited to check this out. Comics for me is a visual medium. Obviously, I want them to be good books, but I grew up in an era in the 80s, especially the late 80s, early 90s, when Image came about. The Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane's, Rob Liefeld. But it was all about comics popping off the page and just, my eyeballs bleeding and just gawking at the art. And I miss that. That does not exist today. There are some hot artists out there that I love, and I'm thankful, but I don't have that same feeling like back then. Comics were really pushing, like who could just, every artist wanted, if you weren't a big name artist, you were trying to copy one of the big name artists in some way, even if you weren't trying to be a complete cop, like you were somehow, or just trying to create this really unique style, in the case of artists like Sam Keith or whatever, just to break out and just make people just, you bought comics because of art. If you go back and look at the covers of back then, it was always about big flamboyant covers, lots of excitement. These days, a lot of people just standing around, boring. Comics have lost a lot of energy, and I think comics have really gone the way of catering to less of the comic fan and just more of people who are a fan of stories. And I think that's most of us. Most of us love stories. We all have our different mediums that we prefer. Some people prefer TV, movies. Some people like regular books. People like comics, what have you. We ingest stories, and I think that's part of our human nature. Comics are fully capable of telling good stories, but their medium is really based around the visual. If you're not going to have good visual, then write a novel. In my opinion, that's how I take it. You're not taking advantage of the medium. It's the same thing if you're making a movie. If you're going to make a movie and it's going to look like utter crap, it's going to like some dude made it in his basement, most people aren't going to be interested in it because movies also are a visual medium. That's why all the big blockbuster films oftentimes aren't great. They're not, superbly written films, and sometimes they're not even very well directed. But man, do they have special effects galore, right? And you just want to see, spectacle. So a lot of those movies sell based on that alone. Anyways, I'm going off on the weeds, but I really appreciate when a comic has something that I can appreciate looking at. I just feel better about owning it. Otherwise, I can just sort of, it's a good story, I just read it and throw it away. I don't want to own it, I guess. So last but not least, speaking of good art too, another Scott Snyder book is Nocterra. I think the light is, I got the bad lighting angle. Nocterra is a book I'm a little bit behind on because the past 6 months has been a whirlwind for me. And I've fallen behind in things and fully intend on catching up because this was a book, it went on hiatus, was part of the case too. Like it went on hiatus kind of right as I went into my hiatus. So when it came back, I wasn't really around. It's in my pull box, so I kept getting it, but I haven't really read it. But I did really enjoy what I have read. Tony S. Daniel, superb art. I think he's kind of wasted on a book like this because one of the things about mainstream comics and that I prefer, I'm a mainstream junkie, which is weird because all my books are indies. But I say this only for people who haven't followed my channel before. The mainstream books just blow. They suck. And it's not because their world or the universe sucks. I'm actually a big fan of Marvel and DC. In later years, I became a fan of DC during the Rebirth era. But I grew up as a Marvel junkie in the 80s. And I love these universes. One of my favorite superheroes of all time now is Superman. So I absolutely embrace him, but I can't bear to witness just the utter crap that both publishing houses are going through with these. They're just ruining these characters. And not only are the characters ruined, but not all of them are ruined, but the ones that aren't, either they're not being published, Hawkman, or they're just being handed off to people who have no talent. I was on a stream with RDV the other day, and we were looking at books. It was one of the Geeky Puppet Show streams, and where they were I don't know, they were looking at books that are upcoming, and I was like, oh, what's this? There's a new book, whatever. I was like, who is it? We would zoom in to like see the other credits that they've done, other books, and it'd be like 3 or 4 other books that they've done. Like they're not hiring proven talent anymore. It's like they're pulling people off the street. It's like they're meeting someone in Starbucks and being like, oh, what, you like comics? You want to write? We have job openings. Meanwhile, people like Scott Snyder, who, is responsible for the most popular Batman series in many years, which was the New 52 Batman. As much as New 52 gets kind of people complain about, his new 52 Batman was very, very popular. People like Scott Snyder. I know some people don't, but the point is he's a proven success, and he's got big ideas, and he was doing interesting things, whether you like him or not. I think Metal was the best event in comics in the past decade. If you think there's a better cross line-wide event than Metal, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. But I think Metal, the original one, was fantastic, and it was super well received. And not perfect. I'm not saying it's... I know there's going to be people, well, Metal did blah, blah. Okay, I get it. I'm not trying to proclaim it's a perfect 10 out of 10. Just trying to say Scott Snyder, it was his idea. I mean, he does things. DC got rid of him, Peter Tomasi, gone. I'm trying to think, Dan Jurgens, I don't even know if he's still doing anything over it. All the big names, gone. The only one is Jeff Johns, who periodically comes and does some sort of like mini series for something, but he's not writing a title anymore. They pushed him out. He's got his own, movie company. So it sucks. But Nocterra, anyways, I went way in the weeds on that. Nocterra is a book that great art. I just miss the superhero style. I think drawing capes, human anatomy is a beautiful thing, male or female, and I think one of the things I grew up just becoming a fan of was that art that showed off that when you show characters in clothes and dark, a lot of dark and things, it's just you don't necessarily, it doesn't show off that comic art as quite as much. So, um, anyways, that is that. So next is people might be asking, Ash, why haven't you done um, you haven't done videos in a while? And like I said, I went on a hiatus, and things have been pretty tough and tight. You know, COVID, I think, hit a ton of people. If you're one of the ones that dodged a bullet, and I'm not meaning like catching the virus, but just economically, uh, congratulations. But it's hurting me, and on top of that, just having some personal things going on. About maybe 6 months ago, my computer completely died on me, so I had to buy a whole new one. And I didn't get a very expensive one, but I didn't want to get a really cheap one either because I needed to do certain things. So I have to, I'm a gamer, so because like it's got to be able to play games, and that always raises the price tag. So picked up a new one. Been very thankful for that. And then my car died, and that was a rough one, as I love that car, and it was tough because I wasn't prepared. I already kind of like dipped into my budget, to pay for a new computer, and then I was like, my car, and it's when you don't have a car and you're not ready for one, and I wasn't able to buy like a new one. Like I didn't want to just go to a dealership. If you can just go to a dealership, and I didn't want to. I'm not doing that. I needed to get a used car, and the way things are going right now because of the Biden economy, used cars are through the freaking roof. So used dealers were out of the question. My last car was from a used dealer, and I loved it. It was a Mini Cooper S, and my favorite car I've ever had. So that was another reason I was really kind of sad, because I was like, oh, this is my baby. So I went several months without, and that was really rough, and I wasn't sure what I was going to be able to find. But fortunately, thank the good Lord, blessed me with finding a new car, and it's a new Mini Cooper as well. So that was kind of a cool blessing, because I love that car. Now this one isn't as good as the one I had, but I'm not going to complain. Very thankful. It's very relieving to be able to have it, go to the comic book store whenever I want again. But needless to say, the economics aside, I don't really like talk about my personal life too much. When I make videos, I want to either talk about my love for comics or bitch about what's going on about comics, and have a rant and be a little salty. But I don't really talk about my personal life. But one of the tough things, I'm just going to get it out there for anyone who's been watching my channel for a long time. I've been suffering for many years now, actually, with depression. And part of the reason I started this YouTube channel, I wasn't trying to get attention, which is why I've never mentioned this before, but it was kind of therapeutic. It's kind of a social outlet. It was kind of a way for me to dive into something that I enjoyed, had a passion for, be able to meet other people that had a passion for it, and get out of my own head, and like I said, find a hobby, so to speak. But and comics have always been something of that for me. They were very instrumental when I was a kid in helping me develop and form my opinions about the world and how we should be, which is why I think I'm very salty about where they've gone. All the virtue and heroism in mainstream comics has been wiped clean in favor of debauchery, and just nihilism, and this idea that vice supersedes virtue. It's really tough for me to deal with, because I got a lot of my, I don't want to say I got my morality from comics, but I grew up in a single home without a father figure, and it was very tough. Um, a mother does as best she can, but she can't teach a man, a boy to become a man. You just can't. And reading comics and seeing sort of these like role model characters um, helped me a lot. I didn't necessarily think that I would be exactly like them, but you could take messages and meanings, and probably that's why when I was a teenager I would gravitate towards some of the more harder edge characters like Punisher and Wolverine and stuff like that. But yeah, these were characters that manned up, and they just, I don't know, it just helped me have a viewpoint besides a feminine one. And when I read comics today, they're very feminized, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that as long as you're upfront about it, right? I absolutely think that comics should be made for men and women, boys and girls. I make for everyone, but don't try to hijack the things that are for boys and feminize them, right? Don't take G.I. Joe and turn it into Barbie, but and vice versa. Don't take Barbie and make it G.I. Joe. Let people make things for all sorts of people. Anyways, I'm in the weeds again, but that's why I haven't been doing videos. And this might be a little bit of a long one, so if you made it this far, thanks for listening. You got a little bit of insight of what's been going on. If you've been watching my videos in the past and you're still a subscriber, thank you. It's encouraging. It's kind of weird. My subscriber count has gone up over the past 6 months, even though I haven't done videos. My final thought is, and I'm probably not going to get many comments on this, but I really ask you to comment on this particular point especially, is what do you think I should do with my channel? So part of the problem that I'm facing now is I don't buy any Marvel, and I make only one exception for DC, and that's White Knight. Sean Murphy's series. His original White Knight series was what got me back into buying comics again, and it's still one of the most exciting things from the big two that, I mean, going back decades. Sean Gordon Murphy really excites me, and I wish Marvel and DC would take a lesson on this. I wish they would utilize it better. DC's kind of not really taking advantage of it like they should, but whatever. Anyways, I'm not getting any of the mainstream books otherwise, and I don't really intend to. If there's an exception to the rule, if something comes out, like when Carr Andrews did his Amazing Fantasy, I bought that. The reason I started picking up Marvel in the first place was the Spider-Man Life Story by Chip Zdarsky, which was phenomenal. I'm not saying I'm boycotting. If they make something truly amazing, maybe I'll give it a chance. But Thor was the last thing that I was hanging on to, and I made it 25 issues, and I don't have a problem with Thor. But I saw the writing on the wall. I saw what Marvel did to me with Donny Cates on Venom. And it was like, oh, Donny Cates is now moving on, and we're going to cancel Venom because he's moving on. We're not going to continue it. So I was like, I'm a comic reader, but I'm also a comic collector. I like filling runs. I like buying the books and having them in my collection. I like building the collection. I like seeing it evolve years over year over year. If I'm just going to read it, either wait for the trade, get them digitally, why go out and go this, and I don't like investing into something only to have the rug pulled out from under me. It's extremely frustrating. And then they're constantly recycling it to a new number one. And I didn't like that in Venom they did the Absolute Carnage, which I enjoyed. It was overpriced, but I enjoyed it. Love the art, Ryan Stegman's art, but that story should have been, that was a Venom story. That easily could have been an arc in Venom, but they wanted to milk it and turn it into this big event, so they made it its own miniseries, which means I got to buy Venom, and I got to buy Absolute Carnage, and then maybe I'm tempted to buy these other spin-off ones, which thankfully suck enough that I'm not that tempted, but that's also bad. I don't want anything to suck. Like, I want the comics I read to be good. I want every Marvel comic to be good, every DC comic to be good. I want it to be like tough. I want my pull list to be just bursting at the seams and me be going, I can't afford to buy all these books. They're all so good. I got to really make tough choices. I want that. Not where I am now, where I have to make tough choices just to even have at least one comic every week. Last week, I think my pull list was nothing. I was like, I don't need to go to a comic store. There's a zero. So you can see what's in front of you here on the camera. Like, these books, I think, are 3 or 4 weeks of comics. Well, the Ghost, these ones don't count because they go back several months because they're multiple issues and they're kind of like almost like back issues. But the ones on my pull list are, I think they're like 3 weeks worth of books. So that's 4 books from my pull list. That's not much. So it doesn't really warrant doing a pull list video every week, right? Here's my book I bought this week. So I don't know. Should I do video? What do I do? I thought about going back and doing story time. Remember when I did those late night streams? And but the Geeky Puppet Show guys are doing readings all the time, and I don't know if I feel like I'm just copying that, even though I was originally doing that first. I thought about trying to get someone to partner up. Like, I approached RDV, not to put you on the spot, RDV, but of doing sort of something like a talk show type of stream once a week, talking about books. But he's already on many streams. He's got 2 of his own on the Geeky Puppet Show where they do Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday they look at the books that are coming out on Wednesday, and then Thursday they look back on the books that came out yesterday. Like, kind of weird, but whatever. They talk about books. That's cool. Like, I want to talk about books. I really enjoy talking with comic book fans. It's very tough doing stuff on your own. And I could do review videos. I thought, well, I'll do review videos, but I'm not buying a lot of books. And I got to tell you, I'm super just burned out and just bummed out. Like, I don't want to read bad Marvel and DC books just to make a salty video and be like, look at how bad this book sucks. It really wears on you. They're fun to do sometimes, but sometimes, like I said, it takes its toll. I want to read good comics, and I don't read enough good comics. So I thought about maybe doing a series where I just talk about the books I'm currently reading, just over and over, and be like, here's the new issue. Even if I've done many videos, like say Nocterra, like, here's the new issue of Nocterra, and here's where it's going. I could do that. There's a possibility, but I kind of enjoy doing that with someone. Doing videos by yourself can kind of be a little depressing. I don't know. If you have ideas of where my channel should go, I'm debating of whether to keep it alive or not, because I like doing it. I want to keep socializing with comic book fans, keep the enthusiasm that other fans have about books is half of the enjoyment of the hobby, in my opinion. The reason I got 3 of these books on here is because other comic book fans, Skip and Zach, were excited about them and were in love with them. You know, like, and so I want to share in that experience. Like, if I read them and they're great, which, by the way, I'll tell you, you guys put in the comments too, who's probably more right, Skip with Kaiju Score, or sorry, Zach with Kaiju Score and Skip with Ghost Cage. Who's probably more right? Which is going to be the better book? I haven't read either one, so I'm curious to know. I'll get back to you. But I would really, really like some sort of ideas of what I could do. I also approached Eric Breen, well, many, many, many times in the past, of doing something with him. Like, I really wanted, his specialty is old school comics, particularly the Silver Age, and that's before my time. I'm an 80s kid. I'm a Jim Shooter era, unapologetic. For me, that's the true golden age of comics. Shooter, he likes Silver Age prior to that. Plus, he likes DC, which I never. But I want to possibly embrace that. So I approached him. I was like, what do we do a series where you pick something of that era to do, and then I, acquire it, read it, or whatever, and then we talk about it and like see, like, can you win me over? Can I be exposed? Because I think talking to someone who is more knowledgeable about that era and can share like why it should be appreciated would be more than me just like picking up a book blind and then talking about it. So, but he's super busy and he's on the East Coast versus my West Coast. So it's always been tough to connect. But Eric, that invite's still out there. Or if anyone else, hit me up in the comments, talk. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna cut this off short now because it's definitely not short. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.